So this was a cartoon again that I'd done a long time ago, and I just found it. And here's the same thing. I finished the wash, the earlier wash, and now I just want to do the ground. And notice I can make this really thin and just go around it, just around it. It doesn't matter if there is an object in between, as long as you can keep that bead going and you've got the right brush. And this is not the right brush. This is the right brush. So for a bigger sheet of paper, I'm going to need a bigger brush because I need to push the paint around. And then I can move really quickly instead of fiddling around with some tiny brush like this one, where I'm going push, 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 push the whole way. So using the right brush, this is a 5 number brush and this is a 14. So that's a big difference between the brushes.
So are you using 14?
Well, yes. In this case, because of the size of the paper, which is A4, to do the washes, I'm going to do 14. But once I get into doing these pigs, I might alternate between 10 and 14. So when I'm going to do a big wash of the pigs, say they're pink for instance, and I'm going to do maybe I'll do this a little thicker or give it a second tone, but I want to get through these areas pretty quick. I don't want to spend all day, and you can see it moves really quick. I can put in some blue here, purple here as we go around. And it doesn't take, I'm not spending ages. I can move pretty quick with this. Can be a little untidy here. I might be a little more tidy when I'm working.
So how come you're not going left to right and you're going all over the place?
Well, in this case, the liquid is still wet, so it'll allow me to do that. But if this is dry, then, I mean, as a rule, you want to go left to right. But once you get the hang of how the paint works, you can make your own rules. I mean, I've seen painters do this, right? They're not going left to right. I mean, one of my friends, Alvaro, that's what Alvaro does. He just goes up and down and left and right. I mean, I'll show you with the other pig how he would draw it. You should see some of his work. It's you'd think he's crazy, but he would, you know. So
if we go back to that other pig, if you look at the bottom, there's that patch. So will that dry up?
Yes,
by itself?
This needs to be mopped up just a little bit. So that's mopped up. But even when you're doing this, and even when you're doing it quickly, you can do this. Look at that. Now that looks like a mess, but as long as you know that it's wet, you can come back to it. So I'm confident that I can get there on time, and so I can go back without any problem. Look at that. So the wash...
So it all bleeds downwards.
Yes, because it's at an angle. So I'm holding the paper at an angle. And as long as it's wet, it'll still do something that works for me. But the moment it dries, I'm in trouble.
So if you're mopping it up at the bottom and the top is still wet, does it just
bleed down? Yes,
by
it rolls
itself?
down. Yes.
Okay.
That's what watercolor does really well. So if you look now at the finish of this one and the finish of this one, and you want to keep this so that it all rolls down. But if you look at the finish, you can see very quickly that there isn't any difference, even though I went all over the place here and I was quite neat and tidy when I was doing this one. So that's it. Watercolors don't have to be this boring, slow method. You can go pretty quickly on it and it will still work for you. But get the right brush. So
can you tell us about the brushes once again?
Yeah, this is an Escoda. It's Ultimo.
Which one?
The dark brown one. That's the number 14 brush. That's an Escoda Perla, and that's a synthetic brush. So that's not synthetic. That's made with some squirrel hair or something like that. And this is not an Escoda, but you could use an Escoda as well. This is a Raphael, and this is a number 5. This is what I bought before I knew about Escoda, so I keep it. But these are the 3 brushes that I tend to use. If I were going to a bigger picture, like a really big canvas, I would go to an 18, and then people go higher than that. Essentially, you want the liquid in the brush as you're doing the wash. That's the whole purpose of the brush. If you've got a crappy brush and you've got a crappy edge, you know, like an edge like that. Now, this is a bad example, but an edge that you cannot control, that you cannot get to a point like that, then you're in trouble. So the brush needs to hold enough liquid, and you don't have to think about all these things. Escoda makes really good brushes, so just go and buy them. They're not very expensive either. You can get them at dickblick.com and look for round brushes. These are called round brushes. And yeah, in this case, they're round brushes, and 5, 10, and in my case 14. So that's it, 5, 10, and 14.